So today we're going to handle section 2.3. Tomorrow you'll take a formative. Okay, your homework is due. And then Monday we'll pick up 2.4 with writing equations of lines and all that fun stuff. So today is graphing day. Okay. So over here on the side, over by the cactus, I have two different flavors of graph paper that you can use for your notes for today, because we will be graphing things today. So on days that we will be graphing, I'll have the graph paper out for you to choose from. On days that we're not graphing, obviously I'll just put it away then. Okay? So today's a graphing day. Let's go over and pick your flavor of graph paper. All right. So talk a little bit about equations of lines. All right. Now, if you take notes on your graph paper, that's fine. If you take notes in your notebook, that's fine too. Okay? Doesn't matter to me where you take the notes part, but the graphic paper for the graph should go on the graph. Okay? So with that being said, let's talk three equations, or three different flavors, forms, if you will, of lines. So the first form of a line is a form that you're most familiar with, and that is y equals mx plus b. Over the cactus. Four people.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't even over there. Oh,
So anyway, so y equals mx plus b is our first form of a line. That's what we call the slope-intercept form of a line. The slope-intercept form of a line does just that. It gives you the slope of the line. It also tells you where the line crosses the x, or crosses the y axis. Okay? It will be next week when we get to writing equations of lines. It will be the most common form of your answer. It won't always be your answer, but it will be the most common. Second one is the point slope form of a line. And this is a great tool to have in your toolbox. You will use it a lot next week when we are writing the equations of lines. But whenever we need to have, or whenever we're given a point and the slope of a line, or we're given 2 points, we're going to use this, and we're going to be able to manipulate it, if you will, into the other two forms. We solve for y, we get y equals mx plus b. We could also put it in standard form if we wanted to. But for now, it just kind of is a useful little tool to have. And the last one is standard form. The standard form of a line is used in higher level mathematics, which you are in right now. You're in college algebra. Okay? Higher level forms, or higher level math, comes with it more mathematical type rules. Okay? So there are 3 rules that go along with standard form. The first rule is that x and y are on the same side. It is the only one of the 3 forms that has x and y both on the same side of the equal sign. That's the first rule. Second rule is that there are no fractions or decimals whatsoever in standard form. Okay? All integers, a, b, and c are all integer it's I mean, I'm just letting you know that it's out there, but I'm okay with not having it be a rule. And that is that some mathematicians want A to always be positive. Okay? I'm okay with A being negative. It doesn't matter to me if it's negative or positive. Okay? All right? So those are the three forms of a line that we will use and we will see. Today, we are going to be graphing lines. And so each of those forms has with it, I should have paused here for the cause. Back at it. All right. So there's going to be three different ways that we can graph lines. Or, I mean, there's many ways that we can graph lines, but based off of the three functions that we have, or the three forms that we have. Okay? So the first way is using y equals mx plus b. Okay? So we can graph a line if we have the slope-intercept form of that line ready to go. Okay? So if I have the slope-intercept form of a line, okay, I can first plot the point 0, comma, b. That is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is not a number. The y-intercept is a point. And that point is 0, comma, whatever b is. Okay? Okay? So if you tell me the y-intercept is 4, I'm going to say no, 4 is a number. Okay? The y-intercept of 0, comma 4, that I would accept. Okay? So anytime we give the y-intercept, we give it in point form. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to plot that point. Then, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the slope in that the slope is from yesterday, rise over run. So from that y-intercept point, we're going to use rise over run, and we're going to plot 2 or 3 more points on our line. Then the last thing that we do is we connect all of those plotted points that we have, but we do that utilizing something straight. Okay? All of you have a school ID. That would be something straight. Some of you have a ruler in a pencil bag or in a planner or something like that. Okay? So that would be something straight. All of you have an edge of the paper that you could fold over and use as something straight. Okay? Some of you have folders, some of you have binders, some of you have different things that are straight. We need to make straight lines. Okay? Hand-drawn, quote-unquote, straight lines will not be accepted. Okay? Because they're not straight. So just so you are aware, we like our lines straight. Okay? So that's the first way of doing things. Second method is our old pal, the T-chart. You've done T-charts before. You pick some X's, you plug them in, you get the corresponding Y's, you plot those points, and you draw your line in using a straight edge. All those are good. Okay? The third method is using the intercepts. All right? And so that's the way, that's probably not the most familiar for you of the 3 ways. Okay? But we can find the x-intercept it's where y is equal to 0. So you plug 0 into your equation for y and solve for x. That's going to give you a point, some number, comma 0. And that would be your x-intercept. Whatever you solve for x, or when you solve for x, that number is the x-intercept. In point form, it's that number, 0. Then you can solve for the y-intercept. That's where x is equal to 0. So that would be, again, the point 0, comma, some number. Then we can connect those 2 points. And that gives us our line. Okay? So if we're looking at our 3 different forms of lines, I would utilize the first way here if we are given y equals mx plus b. I utilize a t-chart if we're given it in point slope form. And I utilize the intercepts if we're given it in standard form. The easiest of the methods for those. Yeah? Let's put it to good use. Let's graph. Now I will be graphing this exact same line, all 3 methods, just so that you have some familiarity, some exposure, if you will, to all 3 methods. Okay? So the first method was the y equals mx plus b method. Now it doesn't matter if it's in xy notation, which is y equals 3x plus 2, or if it's in function notation, f of x equals 3x plus 2. Both are done the exact same way. So with that being said, the first thing that we have to do is we have to find our y-intercept, and our y-intercept is the point 0, comma 2 in this particular case. So I'm going to start at the origin. Origin is the cross of the crosshair. And I'm going to go up 2, and I'm going to put a dot. There is my y-intercept. Then I'm going to utilize the slope of this line.
Why should we put this on a pink paper, huh?
Well, it'd be a graph, wouldn't it? You have graph paper. It's almost as if I planned for this. Okay. The slope of this line is 3, but I'm going to consider it as 3 over 1, because then it's in my rise over run form. Okay? So from my y-intercept, I'm going to go up 3, and I'm going to go right 1. Up 3, right 1. If I went up 3, right 1 more time, I'd be off of the page. Okay? If I don't have enough space to go up 3 and right 1, I can always go down 3 and left 1. Then here's where we utilize something that is straight. And we slide that, or we draw that all the way across our graph. We don't just go a little teeny tiny bit, we go all the way across. So that is method number one, the y equals mx plus b method. Method number two would be my t-chart. Okay? I could just pick some points. I definitely want to pick a 0. For sure, I definitely want to pick that 0 point. I probably want something negative, like -3. Probably want something positive, like 2. And then let's go with 5. Just so you get 4. Plugging those values back in. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2, and that is this point right there. My point right there. -3 times 3 is -9, plus 2 is -7. And that's this point right there. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8. And that's this point right there. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17, and that's off my graph. And sometimes when you pick t-chart numbers, you're going to get stuff that goes off the graph, which is fine. You can handle it. So that is the t-chart. Again, showing you that you get the same line. Next method is the intercept method. So if I'm going for my x-intercept, that would be where y is equal to 0. So I would go 0 equals 3x plus 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. Gives me -2 is equal to 3x. Divide both sides by 3. Gives me -2/3 is x. So my x-intercept would be the point -2/3, comma, 0. Would be the x-intercept, which is this point there. Then I need to find my y-intercept.
So you put 0 in X.
Now I put 0 in for x. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. So that gives me y equals 2, which is 0, comma 2, which we've had on all of the other methods. And that is my intercept.
Are you recording like, do you have like online students or something? Are you like recording these? How do you say?
Sick. You try that one. Graph, find me the y-intercept, find me the slope. I get a y-intercept of 0, comma 3. I get a slope of -2. If that's the case, I got a y-intercept of 0, comma 3. That puts me right there. I've got a slope of -2. Says I go down 2 and right 1, or up 2 and left 1.
Where's their straight edge?
Hmm?
Where's their straight edge?
I have line.
Oh, okay.
I have line drawers. Okay,
I know.
try that one. So if I'm going to find the x-intercept, that is where y is going to be equal to 0. So that gives me x equals -6. If I'm going to find the y-intercept, that's where x is equal to 0. So that's going to be positive 2. Agree?
Agree. So I got the one.
So x-intercept is -6, 0. Y-intercept is 0, 2. -6 is there. +2 is there. 1. This
Is it okay if we just got in the way?
they still got my x-intercept. Good. You now have enough information to complete the paint worksheet for this week. It will be due tomorrow. You will also have a formative assessment